All right, folks. We're going to call this meeting to order. Ask you please to rise for an invocation and remain standing. Father, we're thankful for this another opportunity to come together to discuss the ways and means to carry out the business for this great county. We thank you for this privilege that we have as commissioners. We ask that you give us the wisdom, the understanding, and the ability to discern the best ways to go about doing the business that is laid before us this evening. And we ask for your guidance in all things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right, this time we're going to ask Anna Polk to come forward. Anna Polk is an 11th grade homeschool student. She has been an active member of Effingham 4-H since the 5th grade. Currently serves as a member of the 4-H leadership team. Some of her accomplishments include Georgia 4-H certified team leader, Kids in the Kitchen team leader, Effingham representative at the 4-H day at the Capitol, and volunteers for community projects through 4-H. You'll come over to this microphone right here. I'm going to ask that Anna lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Anna, for coming. Again, thanks for these young people for coming and taking part in our meetings. Encouragement to me. Sure it is to all of us. First item is consideration of a resolution to approve an agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add new business number 9, consideration to appoint Justin East to the Tax Assessors Board. That's number 9. No, it'd be number 9. New business.
I'll say.
Well, I'd like to possibly add something as well.
I have a motion and a second to add new business number 9. And I want to go on the record that I'm against that. And I'll tell you why. Because the Tax Assessors Board asked that, said there was a vacancy in their board. I specifically asked that we not fill it until we publicized it, as we have all other board positions, to be sure that there was no one else out there in the public that would want to possibly be interested in that position. And I think to simply add this to this meeting and circumvent what I had already told them and not publicly advertise for the position would be going against what I've already told them.
Mr. Chairman, for your information, I have the right to pick somebody as the 4th District County Commissioner to go on the Tax Assessors Board. It has not come before us at large like we're putting somebody on the, Ms. Linda Wright on the old people's agent tonight. We do that as a commission. We do not do that. But each commissioner on this board has the right to pick somebody to go on all the boards, the hospital board, the IDA, and also the Tax Assessors Board. So you are wrong on what you're thinking of. Go ahead, I'm sure.
And the state statute would disagree with that. It states that the commission, not the individual commissioner. That is something that has been done out of custom of this board, and it is not written in the law anywhere that individual commissioners from districts have that authority.
Yeah,
I
I'm sure that to me at some point in time, but anyway, go ahead with the meeting.
We can show you it, we can show it to you in the law, but I stated my opposition to adding it at this time.
Was it advertised?
It has not been advertised at this point.
Do most of these appointed
Let's
positions?
get clarity for,
They don't
so
have
we're
to
clear,
advertise
so we're
it.
clear and fair. What is our custom, okay, because there is something to do with law as to if we have followed a custom, it actually is a procedure. And so I do want to understand, because I know that on a lot of these boards, we do, as a custom, allow the district to do appointees, and there's a couple of them that's different, but with regard to this one, how has it always been done?
Just like,
I'm
just
asking-
like we want to do it now.
I want to ask the clerk and the attorney. Because I know as an example with the tax assessors board, I mean, I did make a recommendation for my district. I know,
Each one of us has somebody, and I need to
Keeper
be.
did as custom as well, so, I think that's the way we were thinking of it. With the only caveat that I can go, where I halfway support each is, I believe, it's my understanding that Commissioner Loper has the right to make a recommendation like this, and we typically go with that recommendation. However, often we have advertised, but I don't think we advertise every time. I think we advertise sometimes. Just a lot of times because nobody has shown any interest or the commissioner hasn't been able to find someone. And then by the same token, if it's not an emergency tonight, I don't have a problem with, and I don't know how, if we put it to the next meeting, it would take care of that issue, but probably still, if you're recommending Gussie, still put her on the board most likely, so, it might take care of all the issues if we did it that way. I don't want to show you any disrespect.
There's no issue.
I'm just saying about the concern about putting it on at the last minute.
No, I tried to put it on. I tried to put it on and they didn't do it. And I don't know why, but anyway. I put it in on April 21st, 2016. A request made for my appointment to the Tax Assessor Board to place on the agenda for the May 3rd, 2016 meeting. Period.
But did you have Gussie's paperwork?
No, I did not turn in a name, but I wanted to put it on the agenda. I didn't have to put no name because I'm the one that picks it.
I understand you were saying
No,
you're trying
just-
to hold the spot, but you didn't have the information in.
No, but I brought it today for you to look at it. Anyway,
So Lee, do you want to give us an opinion?
Just decide whether or not you want to put it on the agenda or not.
I said, well, I would like the attorney's opinion.
Okay.
I think you probably answered your question about custom, being appointed last July. I haven't seen a whole lot, but it seems like the board can elect or appoint members to the tax assessor board, but generally it would come from the district. So I don't think there's a problem with that. But putting it on tonight when it's not on the agenda, that's, our recommendation would be to put it on next agenda. I think that would alleviate the concerns there and make us do the same result. It's just going to happen 2 weeks later.
That's what, I will say that's what I think as well, for the only reason that, I don't want to show any disrespect to any one commissioner, but at the same token, it's preferable to not be handed anybody's information right here as we get here, just so that we have time to look at it. And that's the whole reason for the policy about not putting things on the agenda at the last second unless it is an emergency. One, the public has a right to it, and two, we need to have time to review it. While most of us know Gussie and realize most likely surely she'd be a great asset on that board because she's a real estate appraiser. I think if we don't have to have her appointed tonight, putting it off 2 weeks would not be a major issue. Now, again, I want to try to just be fair to everybody and show respect accordingly.
the whole thing is a nutshell. I'll tell y'all the whole thing in a nutshell. And you can agree with me or disagree with me. The Tax Assessors Board is wanting to pick who they want to go on that board, and they want to get Larry Well on there. Well, I don't want Larry Well on there. I want Gussie Neese on there, and that is my choice. And nobody else's choice. Whoever I put on there, they've got to take them. Or whatever we put on there,
We get to do a majority vote on your recommendation.
that's exactly right.
But I can tell you tonight, if you're recommending Gussie and it gets put off to the next time, I'm gonna support that. I can tell you that, just for my own
All right, Sheriff, we call for a vote. Let's see how it goes. We don't need three. You got 2-0. Call for a vote. You got to call for a vote.
I have one item I'd like to consider, and
We're
not
not
going to
getting
get caught
to
up in
that point
this.
yet. We're working on the agenda.
He's saying call.
I made a motion and he seconded it.
To put it on the agenda, call for that.
We put it on the agenda. So you call for a vote to put it on the agenda. If it does not pass, then it's over with.
Okay. You had something else?
No, well, no.
All right. Any other changes, additions, corrections to the agenda? All right. So, is your motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Yes, yes. And he seconded it.
And is your to approve with that addition? I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the addition of item number 9, which is consideration of Gussie Neese for the tax assessor position. All in favor? Any opposed? And for the record, the motion's by Commissioner Walker, seconds by Commissioner Deloach. We straight?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm not going to vote opposed, but I will say I do think for future efforts, if it's not an emergency, we need to follow our policy and not put things, not bring information to the other commissioners at the last minute. If we can't get it on in time, and I hear what you're saying, Rich, you've attempted that.
All right, next item, consideration to approve the minutes for the April 19, 2016 regular commissioners meeting minutes. Any changes, corrections, additions?
So putting that on the agenda did pass for y'all's information. You didn't say nothing about that, but it did pass, just for everybody's information.
All right, motion?
That's it. Restate
The minutes.
the minutes.
Make a motion to approve minutes as read.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Should be noted that public comment should be limited to our agenda items only. Documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Our consent agenda has several items. First item is consideration to approve to renew the MOU with Effingham County Board of Education for the use of schools as disaster shelters. Item number 2, consideration to approve to renew the cooperative agreement with the Georgia Forestry Commission. Item number 3, consideration to approve to renew the MOU with the Georgia Forestry Commission for antenna receiver space on the county tower located at the transfer site on Courthouse Road. Item number 4, consideration to approve to renew the fire protection services agreement with the City of New England. Item number 5, consideration to approve to renew the MOU with the Georgia Department of Public Safety for antenna receiver space on the county tower located at the transfer site on Courthouse Road. Item number 6, consideration to approve to renew the Rural Fire Defense Cooperative Lease Agreement and MOU with the Georgia Forestry Commission. Item number 7, consideration to approve to renew the agreement between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and Alcohol Monitoring Systems Incorporated for the use and monitoring of SCRAM devices. Item number 8, consideration to approve to renew the MOU with Effingham County Board of Education for the use of 7 school buses in the event of disaster. Item number 9 is the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an ordinance lowering the speed limit on Springfield Egypt Road from State Route 21 to the railroad tracks. Motion?
Make a motion as read. Approve as read.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner DeLuce, to approve all items on the consent agenda as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. One item of old business, consideration to approve to sign a temporary construction workspace permit to grant Elba Express Company permissions to utilize county-owned property for the purpose of storing materials. Want to beat this one up again, Mr. Dawson?
I prefer not to, Mr. Chairman. This is the third time, I think everybody knows what we're here for. We have been working with Kinder Morgan on another ancillary issue here. And I will say Mr. Plouffe is here. He can certainly answer questions from you all, but I would like to express my appreciation to him and his group. They have been extremely helpful and very responsive to us, and I think we're certainly well on our way of accomplishing what we wanted to on the ancillary issue there. We've had some meetings on site. We've got EPD satisfied. We're going to work with the Corps now, and then we'll get to work doing the maintenance. But, you know, again, that's a separate issue from this one. The proposal was to utilize the space well, between May 1. I think I did revise this agreement to May the 4th, since today will be the 3rd. The one that's in front of y'all, my staff report did not get revised. From May 4th to April 30th of 17, so basically 1 year. And they, in consideration for the use of the site, would like to compensate the county $965. Staff would recommend that you all approve this and allow them to use that space.
Any questions from the board?
I have one question. On this thing that both of them don't sign, it's got on the agenda and it has on the next page about the $965, but this thing that both of them don't sign, it has nothing about amount of money on it. Should it? It's all right like it is.
It does it on the signature page. There's a separate page in this estimated temporary workspace. I think, and I defer to the attorney, but I believe you just made your motion to include compensation of. I think that would be adequate.
Well,
I understand what you're saying. It's not
it's
included.
not on this thing, both of them don't sign, it has nothing about the $900.
Could I say something about that?
Sure.
That's correct. It's not written on there, but that's what we typically do is we present a calculation sheet, which I had sent to Toss as well, and it shows what we plan to pay. And if it's agreeable, then we usually use the form that just says for $10 and other valuable consideration. But it is agreed that we'll pay the amount of compensation that we agreed to.
Okay, I just.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I wanted to know.
Some people have asked us to actually put the dollar amount in there, but a lot of times people would prefer just to leave it like it is and keep their business private. So,
Okay.
but it is agreed.
I don't have no problem with that,
Okay.
If
I understand.
Any questions, so I asked one.
Yeah, very good.
I'm
Okay.
satisfied with it.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Everybody
you.
else is.
All right. Any other questions while I'm here?
No, I'd just like to thank you for working with us on that other issue.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Question? Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1, approve the hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Floyd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, sir. First item, new business, consideration to approve to issue a contract termination letter to Infinity Networks Incorporated to accept a bid and issue a contract for an inmate phone and video visitation system to Lattice Incorporated for the prison.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. The county has had an agreement in place for prison inmate phone services with Infinity Networks since 2004, which renews annually. As technology has advanced a great deal since 2004 and video visitation is now an option for inmates, the county put out a bid for phone and video visitation systems, which was advertised in the usual places and sent to known vendors. 5 vendors attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting and proposals were received from all 5. The bid tab showing the rates and commission percentages is attached. Based on experience, capability, qualifications, references, fees charged to the inmates and commissions paid to the county, Lattice Incorporated has been found by staff to offer the best phone and video visitation system for the prison inmates. They offer 60% commission of gross revenues for calls and 25% of gross revenue for video visitation. The county currently receives 37.5% commission of gross revenue for calls and video visitation is not currently set up. Lattice also offer an incentive of $10,000 in calling cards. The contract runs from July the 1st, 2016 through June the 30th, 2019, after which it may be renewed for 2 additional one-year periods under the same terms and conditions unless terminated by either party with 30 days written notice prior to the end of the initial term or current renewal period. The contract can be terminated for convenience at any time by the county with 30 days written notice. There is no funding necessary because the system is turnkey with all costs being the responsibility of Lattice Incorporated. As the contract has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney, staff recommends alternative 1. Any questions?
Excuse me, honey, let me.
Oh, so,
Jack Garvin from Clio, Georgia. What is the cost to the county for this, and how much are you charging the people?
there is no cost to the county.
It's no cost.
No, they-
What are we charging the prisons?
I will show you right here, Mr. Jack. It depends on the type of call that they make. For a 10-minute collect local call, it will be $1.30. And I can make you a copy of this. It will be it's with the agenda. This is how much it costs the inmates to make their calls.
That's very fair. The Chatham County's getting like 40 cents a minute.
Yeah.
They already getting flack over it.
Yeah, it's 13 cents a minute.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fiona,
Yes, sir.
when they say they offer an incentive of $10,000 in calling cards, who gets to use that $10,000?
When I asked them that question, they said the facility typically deduct the payment from the inmates' trust accounts. So the inmates use it to make phone calls and the money comes back to the county. Or other options is that we can sell them through the commissary, or we can convert it to PIN debit funds that can be purchased by inmates' friends and family via the Lattice call centre. So it will go back into but we do get 100% of that. We don't just get.
So ultimately, it's $10,000 of income to us,
Yes, sir.
one way or the other. We sell it through the commissary.
Yes, sir. And we don't just get the 60% on those calls.
Is there any negatives to this?
Not that I can see.
One other positive is just limiting the number of visitations, physical visitations.
Yeah.
Because that's when things change hands, that's just when bad things happen.
Contraband.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see anything negative to this.
Who keeps the money? Does it go to the sheriffs or does it come back to the county?
We don't have anything to do with the money that goes, it goes
It's
straight
for
to
the
this
prison.
company, it goes to the prison. Not to the prison. Oh, you mean, sorry, who gets the commission? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go back
it's
to
for
the
the prison, not the jail.
Pardon me?
Prison.
It's for the prison, not the jail.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be county funds, not sheriff.
Okay. Motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Floyd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to approve the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement.
Good afternoon, Clint Hodges, interim EMA director. This statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement, it provides the framework to support assistance in managing an emergency or disaster that occurs within any political subdivision that's a participating party. What this is basically going to do for us is it's going to basically ask the board for their direction in who can request assistance and who's going to actually manage any funds that either have to be dispersed or come out. This does not obligate us to anything at the moment as far as funding is concerned. It just basically tells us who can request it and who can't. And what that does is basically prevents just an average employee from going and requesting, let's just say 10 bulldozers from somewhere in the event of emergency. It just allows, for example, if you appointed the county administrator or the finance agent to be the person that actually makes those requests. The city of Springfield approved this particular agreement on March 8th. The city of Guyton did on April 12th, and it goes before the city of Lincoln on May 8th.
Is this basically the same agreement that was done in 12?
Yes, sir. It's very similar. There's a couple of formats that are a little bit different, in my opinion, but it's the same agreement, and it's the same agreement that goes before all the cities and all the counties in the state.
So basically, if we're going to play in the big ball game, this is the agreement you...
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to make note, this doesn't deal with our operations within the county. This is outside the county.
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Deloach. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to approve an electronic data interchange partner agreement for claims and remit forms on various payers.
Good evening. I'm standing in for Wanda McDuffie. She's ill tonight and asked me to do this as it interchanges with our EMS anyway and our revenue. We were asking for approval to go forward with an electronic data interchange. The electronic data interchange not only will allow us to receive revenue for our EMS billing, but it will also allow us to receive by electronic means our EOBs from now on. So a lot of the paperwork that has to be sent by mail will now be able to be retrieved electronically. In this particular case, we're going through an electronic data interchange or ZerMed, and that particular process will allow us to do several different entities, TRICARE South, TRICARE for Life, and so forth. And so we ask for your approval. We did make some changes to the forms that EMS consultants sent, namely simply email addresses and those who necessarily would need to have this information. We made a change from the email address that's on here to EMS revenue. In that manner, it will be able to go to Wanda, also Tina Seckinger, and finance staff. In addition to that, we also added names because of the fact that when we call to these different entities, many times they will not speak to someone unless their name is on these forms. And so that has been updated. It's with the clerk. These forms were as they came from EMS consultants.
Will we have to make any changes to our financial policy to?
No, sir. We already have this within our financial policy. We're just trying to move forward with getting everything as much as we can electronically.
Okay. Motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Loper. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? carried. Number 4, consideration to approve the first reading to amend Chapter 38, Article 1, Section 38-3, and Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 45-51 of the Official Code of Ordinances of Effingham County.
Mr. Chairman, see Clarence is out here, he asked that some amendment be made to the ordinance based on some comments and feedback that he was getting, I guess, from citizens and participants in particular events. I think his original request was basically for sports fields only. We amended that to go to all county buildings to have the same change made to the ordinance. So section 38.3 is in regard to public buildings, and section 4651 is recreational areas, but we're making the same change. Basically, these two sections prohibit smoking of tobacco products in county buildings and recreational facilities. The request is to extend that from just tobacco products to electronic cigarettes and smokeless tobacco. So those are the two pieces that were added in both of them, where it says smoke from any battery-operated electronic smoking device designed to deliver nicotine and or substances through a vapor inhaled by the user, or uses smokeless tobacco products. That same statement shows up in 3 places, which is dealing with buildings and recreational facilities. So in short, the request is to add electronic cigarettes and smokeless tobacco to the use of prohibited items in public buildings and recreational facilities. You know, if Clarence wants to add anything to that or not, but that's what we're asking for.
Just the same, basically where you can't use a regular cigarette, you can't use a new electronic one.
And or smokeless tobacco, that's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Do we allow smoking outside the gates of the cars?
Yes, sir, we do. I'm Clarence Morgan, the Recreation Director. We've had more problem this year, and thank goodness 99.9% of the people have been cooperative. But if they didn't want to be cooperative, we didn't have a leg to stand on. We did allow them to go outside the gate, outside the park, and hadn't had no problem from that standpoint. But this is beginning to be a major problem, and like I told my staff, ask them, we don't have a leg to stand on, and they refuse. So that's why I brought it to your attention to try and get some support.
So they can stand right outside the gate?
Outside the park.
Outside the park.
Right.
We can't control them off of our property.
Yeah.
Well, we need to probably provide maybe a designated line or something.
Yeah.
They're gonna, so you may as well have it designated.
And it says all property, but I know it'll be about impossible to enforce all property. Not that we can't, but it would take a full-time, 2-3 full-time people just in Sand Hill to do it.
Yeah, the ordinance says all parks and recreation areas in the unincorporated area. It doesn't really specifically designate what that is. I think it's a fairly wide open description.
And if you're at Sand Hill, it's between 2 and 3, and between 1 and 5, they walk beyond the fence, but no person is sitting or standing or watching ball games. And the rec department, they go outside the fence or on the property owned by the lawyers in the woods, which we don't control.
If there's a designated area outside the park away from the people, but I don't want the area either. You take the neighbor, not just the cigarette neighbor.
And I'm surprised it took this long for this to pop up at our facility, but this year it's been worse than that.
So if somebody's in there and the kids play ball, if they want to go out to the car, sit in the car and drink not drink. Wishful thinking. Smoke a cigarette, they
Right.
think. Maybe not supposed to, but.
And lots of people are offended with these smokeless devices. I couldn't tell you what one of them was, I hadn't seen one, to be honest with you.
But you don't have a problem with regular cigarettes. You're able to control that.
Oh, yeah.
So all we need to do is add this to that.
Yeah, we had no problem with cigarettes. Now, we have a few that slip around, but that's just people.
It's just
You
treating,
catch them sometime and you ask them to leave and they leave.
just treating the new version the same as the old version.
Yeah. It's just modern technology
That's right.
that we need to address, I think.
You got it. I've never seen one. All right, motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Deloach. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration to approve resolution naming Charles Schwab Bank as the custodian, Jim Court as financial advisor, record keeper, and third-party administrator for the 457B and 401A retirement plans.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jim.
I would say this would be the last time up here regarding this, but I'm not sure. Honestly, no.
It will.
At the request of ACCG and GEPCOR, we currently have different companies providing these essential services for our plans. As of the transfer date, the Board of Commissioners needs to pass resolutions naming the new ones. Currently, as the custodian is MG Trust, financial advisor is LPL Financial, record keeping is Newport Group, formerly known as Daily Access Corporation, and the third-party administration is handled by HA&W Benefit Advisors. These resolutions will move those responsibilities from these four individual corporation companies and move the custodian to Charles Schwab Bank, and then all of the services will fall under GEPCOR, which is the third-party administration, financial advisor, and also record keeper. So it also consolidates.
They'll all go to one person.
Yes, sir. So it's kind of like the final move, getting everything in line for the transfer that's going to happen. Any questions?
Motion.
Make a motion to approve alternate number one.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Deloach. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Item number 6, discussion on a proposed amendment to Article 6, Sections 30-245 and 30-246 of the official code of ordinances of Effingham County.
Mr. Chairman, I want to do this as a discussion because I really didn't know how to make the revision, if any. Give you a bit of a background. Section 30-246 states in part, no local land use permit or building permit shall be issued until a jurisdictional wetlands determination has been completed. That's for anything located within 50 feet of a wetlands as shown on the National Wetlands Inventory. So we take these NWI maps and look at them. If a building, proposed structure in this case, shows up within 50 feet, the actual ordinance reads that you have to, that nothing will occur until the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers determines that there is a jurisdictional permit present and you permit it to a 404 permit, or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers determines that jurisdictional wetlands are not present. So basically you got to get a jurisdictional determination, and those take 60, 90, 180 days, just depends on how long it would take. These aren't really an issue so much when somebody's proposing a subdivision, a development. There's things they have to go through. There's lots of parts, but this has come up as an issue when somebody just wants to build a house off the side of a road, and the NWI shows the house being within 50 foot of the wetlands. The literal read of the ordinance says that you have to basically get a JD from the Corps, and we haven't wanted to hold people up that long, so we've looked for other ways to do this, such as is a recorded plat that shows the wetlands line on it, that shows this is outside of it. If that doesn't exist, can you at least go to a consultant around here that delineates wetlands and get them to write you a letter stating that there is? And we've done these things to try to help the permit process move along, but technically staff is not, it's not within our purview to do. The ordinance doesn't say that. So we wanted to bring this to you all to get some feedback. If there's revisions you want to make, if so, what do you want them to be? And we can certainly do this anyway. And I would say in two different ways. definitely for a subdivision or development of that, I would certainly leave this in there. With a house, you all can do what you want. My only concern with just completely striking it is then we allow a house to be built in wetlands. Is there any liability or culpability on our part? So with that, that's really the discussion I wanted to have is, do you all see an issue with this? Do you all have an issue with the way staff's been treating it, and how do we move forward?
Personally, I think that staff has done the appropriate thing. I mean, you've got what subdivisions that's been out there existing for years, that if you went by the letter of our ordinance right now, you would actually have to go out and be moving county roads that's existed to come in compliance with our ordinance.
But because they changed the wetlands map.
Because they changed the wetlands map.
Well, the national wetlands maps are generalized maps put out by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they're based on whatever they are. They're not an on-the-ground delineation. They're like soils maps. They're close, and they give you a good idea. And the whole point of this was, if it's within 50 feet of one, we may want to take a look. It's not saying it's hard and fast a wetland, because of the way it's a generalized map of the entire United States. So that's all it was really intended to do, is say there's concern to look a little bit closer, is all. So there's any number of instances I could give you where the NWI map shows something as wetlands that's not, or vice versa.
But I can appreciate staff not wanting to just throw the ordinance out the door and say, hey, this is there, but we're going to ignore it. So that's the reason it's coming before this board, correct?
Yes, sir. As staff, you all know this, we don't get the option of choosing what we enforce and don't enforce. And I say that, I'm telling you all, we have not really enforced this, but I'm telling you why we did it, and I don't like doing that. That's why we're coming to you all.
But I think that the direction that staff has looked at this is the proper way to do it, and to simply rewrite it and using those guidelines and say, hey, if this looks like a red flag, then go get a soil scientist out there and delineate it. And let's use that as a guideline.
And we can certainly do that. My question would then be, do you want to treat everything that way, or do you want to differentiate between, say, a major subdivision as defined in our subdivision ordinance, 3 or more lots, and a minor subdivision, and/or individual houses being built that are not part of a subdivision?
In whatever form we have to do to protect this county, to be sure that we're not building in a wetland.
And I say that because when you do a major subdivision, you have to get a topographic survey, you have to get a boundary survey, you have to hire an engineer to do plans, you have to do a sketch plan.
But those are new.
Correct.
That's happening.
Correct. But see, this ordinance applies to a lot on the side of McCall Road that somebody wants to build a house on.
And what's your recommendation about if it's needed on at those times?
On the major subdivisions?
No.
I would say a jurisdictional determination could be, it's like saying, I'm gonna pick somebody in here, but Mr. Jack goes to build a house. He's not a builder, he wants his own personal house. He shows up at the building permit office, the next thing he knows, he's 180 days out to be able to get a permit because there's an NWI shown out there.
But you can call a soil scientist and get him to go out there and delineate it.
Yes,
and be done with it.
That's correct. And then it's the cost of the soil scientist delineation that goes and does it. He comes back in, we get the permit moving along again.
And that's the path we need to go.
That's what we're trying to avoid. Now, if it's a developer, they understand these things and expect to have to do that as part of an overall development. And the ones that I'm referring to are not those. It's the fellow that moves into the county and buys a piece of land, wants to build a house on it. And suddenly we're telling them, hey, you've got to go through this huge process and get this jurisdictional determination.
That doesn't need to happen.
I would say common sense is the better part of, wisdom there, is we get somebody that does this, we do it on reliance of their letter and move on. It's not a JD from the Corps, but it's also not staff making that interpretation, and it's not just shooting in the blind either. We've made a best guess look, or not best guess, but we've employed the proper personnel to go out, and we're doing it on reliance on somebody that's qualified in this field.
And they have insurance that back them up.
Correct.
Hey.
And then the same thing, Mr. Jack will pick on him still. If he ends up in a wetland and there's some regulatory action, then he can go back on that person that wrote him the letter.
To a Whitaker or whoever.
That's correct.
So what you're saying is if he came in and he had not done that you'd say in order to obtain this permit, what you first have to do is go obtain this letter for us.
Yes, ma'am. And it's the same as looking at our CRS program as when we look at it, see if it's in flood zone. If he also had a house and was in a flood zone and didn't realize it, we're also going to tell him, you got to go get an elevation certificate, before you come in. So it's us doing our due diligence to make sure we're not inadvertently allowing something to happen, but being as unobtrusive to the process as we possibly can and keep
That
it.
wetlands determination, would it be done by the same person who would locate your septic drain field? Is that one and the same or not? Because you said it's all the same.
He did. Normally, it probably would not. We're referring more like RLC or Sly, Alton Brown Stewart Sly, something like that. Instead of like Donnie Bradshaw, who does the soils. It's usually two different people, but.
I misspoke. Because I was thinking most likely that person is going to be involved at some point.
Most of them can pretty much tell you when they come out their soil scientists. I mean, they're evaluating soil. They know if they're in Pelham or something. They can pretty much tell you if you're in wetlands, but typically that letter will be written by somebody, an environmental consultant.
But does that give you the discussion to?
Yes, sir. If that's the direction of the board, I'll rewrite this to do that. We'll separate major subdivisions, minor type things, and differentiate the two, and we'll bring it back to you at your next meeting for consideration.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any way we can help cut the red tape, sir?
Well, and give staff something that they can do that's reasonable and proper direction.
Okay, discussion.
All right, we discussed. Item number 7, consideration to approve a resolution to impose a 1% special local option sales tax. Wash.
Mr. Chairman, this was last voted on November 2nd, 2010. It's set to expire, current SPLOST, is set to expire June 30th, 2017. And I'm assuming you all would like to reimpose a SPLOST. We met April 14th with the other municipalities as is required by law. That meeting, we decided at the meeting to split the total SPLOST proceeds by population. Those percentages are listed in the resolution. That's page 4 of 13 in your book. You'll see what the percentages each entity you're going to get. And then below that, there's percentages of each capital outlay category. Those were provided by the municipalities. You all's, the ones for the board, were done based on the SPLOST list that we previously provided to you all of individually itemized projects to be funded. That again is on page 4 of 13 and carried over to the end of 5 of 13. There are, and if you all approve this, it's set to go November 8, 2016. The ballot, it will have to go to the DOJ for pre-clearance before it gets there. We'll send that off as soon as you all approve it. There are 2 small issues I would like to point out to y'all that were brought up later. On the very first page of the resolution in the all capitalized text on the 4th from the bottom line, you'll see requesting the election. I don't know what that says, but it's not superintendent, and it's supposed to be superintendent. That word is badly misspelled.
It's supposed to be superintendent.
I believe so. It is superintendent or something like that.
Where is that?
If you go from the bottom of the all capitalized section, the 4th line up.
If you look in your gray
Could
book,
be
there's
requesting.
a red line copy of it.
Okay, I'm
in your
sorry.
book.
Stephanie's got a red line. That'll make it much easier.
Which is the election board and everything.
That's right. It's the election superintendent. It's supposed to be election superintendent. It's just that clearly doesn't say superintendent. And then right after that, in that red line copy, there should also be one that says, and approve to issue general obligation debt. We don't necessarily intend to do so. It needs to be in the resolution in case you all wanted to later on.
Run that thing again?
I don't have the red line copy. I can't remember the exact
By
word.
allowing the addition of seeking approval to issue general obligation debt doesn't mean we have to, but it will
Okay.
allow for it if we decide we want to.
Yes, ma'am. And you'll see the same language on Exhibit A in the back where it says, in the imposition of tax approval of voters, voters shall also constitute approval to issue general obligation debt. It's simply in the resolution in case you all decide to later. It doesn't mean we have to issue general obligation debt. So those are the only two changes I'm aware of. This resolution has been sent to all the cities. The only feedback I've received is on that actually was the superintendent was pointed out to me by Mr. Dickey. I didn't catch that, so no one else has said anything. So I take it by their silence, they're okay with it.
What was pointed out by Mr. Dickey?
The misspelling of superintendent.
So I found the revised copy and I read what you were saying.
Yes, ma'am. And there should be in your book as well, page 13 of 13 of this item. I'm sorry, 12 and 13 of 13 is the actual list of the projects to be funded, and those all correspond, the percentages that you see in there correspond to this list.
So by our vote to approve this resolution, we are also approving by that vote those percentages?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's correct. That is
One
included.
vote fits all. You understand that?
Yes, you will be approving the percentages per category. That's correct.
Gotcha.
For each category. And again, just to let you know what that's based on, this is where they come from. And we didn't put the column outside with the percentages, but I promise you it adds up to this stuff here.
I just want to be sure that you understand what you're voting for. You're voting for a resolution, but we have not previously voted for these percentages. So you are at the same time voting for the percentages by category.
That's correct. And these are largely the
Referring
same.
to percentages that we agreed upon with the cities, or percentages for?
Both.
Percentages for the profit. Well, both. actually.
Okay, so the other part you're referring to is the percentages for the categories.
For the projects for which these will be spent on.
That's correct. But to the chairman's point, you're voting on both. And again, if you look at page 4 of 13 up at top, 3.22, 16, 9, 1, 5, 4, 6, and 74, 41 respectively, those are the percentages of the total revenue that go to each municipality. Below that is each municipality, the percentages there is the percentage of their part of the total, how it will be spent.
Springfield has voted and approved theirs.
Yes, yes. In fact, what should be in here is the minutes from their meeting.
Okay. Is Springfield and Guyton approved theirs?
I don't know if they voted in open session. What I'm basing this on is the information that they gave us at the meeting. As far as Rankin, the mayor, and their attorney was both present, they handed us that. And you'll see Springfield actually had a call meeting, their minutes are here, they have voted to approve it. Rankin, well, Guyton's the next one, the mayor sent an email, I'm basing it on that email, and Rankin handed me this sheet at the meeting, that's why these are included too. So if there's an error, it came from them.
Okay, so with regard to the percentages that are listed for Effingham County, the dollar amounts beside them, that ties to like our short-term work program?
It ties to what will be our new short-term work program, because if you remember that program was based on a 5-year SPOS window, so that they'd all be completed. It ties to these sheets that are the two in the back right here, which will be the new short-term work program.
I just basically kind of verify that all those amounts tied to, Joanna, just want to be sure you hear my question just in case. Yes, ma'am. I just basically want to be sure that the amounts that are listed with the percentages for Effingham County are covering the projects that we discussed that we want to try to cover.
Yeah, I believe that when Paul and
Buildings, roads, the vehicles, all of that.
yes, I believe when Paul and I reviewed that, we ensured that the percentages were reflected in the overall totals
Yeah, I'm just
on
trying
an
to make sure
individual
that
category basis.
I would end up understanding after the vote that some of the things I thought we were going to do, we can't do, so I just want to be sure about that.
Well, and I apologize, I don't know exactly what you got in mind, but I mean, this is the list. We can go down it, point by point.
Well, without spending the time doing that, I'm going to have a couple discussions with
Yeah.
her that I knew she would know what I was
Yeah.
trying to be sure was covered.
I don't want to answer that question because I don't know what y'all are speaking of. You know,
She's just talking about the water being in there.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's vehicles and all.
both of those are in there, yes.
Well, and any buildings that we might want for possible admin.
That's in there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Now, and I will say, for full disclosure, if we had a percentage of 3.62, we probably ran it into 3.6. I mean, you just keep the math easy, but yes, they correspond to these numbers right here.
All right. Any more questions?
Got it. Good.
Motion?
Make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to reappoint Linda Wright to the Aging Services Advisory Council.
We received a letter dated March 9th of 2016 requesting the reappointment of or appointment of another individual to the Aging Services Council. Ms. Linda Wright is currently on that board. Her term is set to expire July 1st. I did speak with Ms. Linda and she has consented to remain on the board. So staff is requesting the appointment of Ms. Linda Wright to the Aging Services Council.
Questions? Comments? Motion?
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Floyd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right, added item number 9. What you came for, Miss Gussie?
Came to be a service of the county.
There you go. All right. Reggie, your appointment.
Make a motion to approve Gus Denise to the Tax Assessment Board.
What's the term?
4 years. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
4
It's a
years.
4-year term.
Does this fill in a current term
No.
to finish or?
Ms. Barney Benaz's term expired
Okay.
in March, I believe.
In March, yeah.
Okay.
So this
So it's
will
been-
be
okay.
appointment to that.
So,
All right. Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Deloach. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? You are so appointed. Thank you for serving. Thank you for serving. We're not talking about wells tonight. We're not talking about wells tonight. We'll talk about wells on May 12th.
We're going to talk about wells on May 12th.
There you go. Lee, are we going to need executive session?
not for me.
No?
Well, y'all need something?
out the window.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Deloach, second by Commissioner Loper. Approve the executive session minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Rich, you got anything?
Yes, I had somebody bring up at the park, Baker Park, the walkway around the park, around the pond, the concrete, I guess it's from roof comes under it and it's unlevel at the joints. So it needs to be, I guess, tore out and re-poured so it can get level. And Clarence might tell you something about that too.
You know anything about that, Clarence?
Yes, sir. I've been getting some complaints from citizens who walk that we got a lot of uneven spot at Baker. It's because the root system had come up through the concrete, getting to a point that it's becoming dangerous. I met with Wes Sherrod over there the other day and went through everything, and I think he looked at how much it's going to cost us, but it would get to a point now that we would do something or we're going to be in very bad shape if we don't go ahead and do something. About 6 or 8 bad places, and I got them marked even with a drum right now to warn people that they are there. I said 4 or 5 real bad spots.
Sounds like something somebody could trip and hurt us.
Yeah, and I've been getting more and more complaints, Matt. And my rec board, you brought it up the other night, we actually made a chute over there, and it's getting worse. Has it just got that way? No, it's just getting worse. And you gotta remember the park is 13, 14 years old. So, you use regular, I promise you people, you use it more than anybody ever realized.
So who's in charge of getting it fixed?
Reckon I am. But money-wise.
All we gotta do is okay your money, you get it fixed.
That's right. And I think Mr. West came up with $8,500 every contract, and then we did in-house. It'd probably be a little bit less. Mr. Top may know more about what West came up with.
No, I think your numbers are right. I think the issue is getting in there to do it physically, to do the work. There's a narrow trail. I don't know how you get back there with the concrete. That's kind of been the issue.
Yeah, remember, we built it and did pour concrete as we came out on each side.
It's just, there's a pond, a walking trail on the property line, and to get equipment in there is nearly.
Yeah, we went from bridge around one way and bridge back this way, so we've never had concrete truck back there. That's gonna be the issue.
Well, and I don't think you can get a concrete truck in there, and it's trying to find something small enough to tote the concrete back.
I seen those little, like a 4-wheeler, but it's a big one with the little, I've seen pour concrete with those, where you couldn't get to it with a big truck.
And I think the problem is staff, we don't do that kind of work, we don't have that equipment.
Yeah.
So other than that, is getting somebody to come in and do it. And again, just finding the money is getting toward the end of the budget year. And I mean, I understand it's a hazard, and
I did not put in my budget because I didn't, it was after the process when West and I went out there.
We got any concrete prison?
oh yeah, it's not a matter of getting the concrete, it's getting it from, because the trucks want to be way up on the parking lot end, and this thing's kind of back around the back of the pond, and it's trail wide.
The work 3 or 4 places in the back.
Yeah, it is getting it from there to the back. If we could get up back.
Probably rent a Georgia buggy, the little small rubber tire.
And I get
That's what I was talking about with little dumps on the front.
Yeah.
It's too narrow to put a backhoe in there?
No, we've had all that, but the key is, I think, the way to a concrete truck will be the problem.
well, if you get a backhoe in there, we can get it.
I think you can anyway now.
You can take a yard at a time.
We had the cutters, 4 years ago when they did all the cutting by the hospital back there. That piece of equipment we had back there, because they cut the whole walking trail that week. Brandon can tell us if we can, and Dominic can tell if we have, what kind of equipment we have had over there. And Brandon is, he Public Works, Dominic actually one of my employees now, he used to be with Public Works.
We might print one other thing like Keith was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get it taken care of. The issue is just getting the concrete in there. We can get it there. We got people that perform it for it. Yeah, we typically when we do that leading out with Public Work, he understands how to float concrete and finish it. He gets some inmates to help him do it, so.
And he just came out of work and he had no lunch break.
Yeah, I think about it. He did steady physical.
Yeah, he just can't do physical work, he can supervise nobody.
But we can get the work done. On this one, it's just challenging getting the concrete to the location. Other than that, it's not a big deal.
And can my maintenance budget control it? I have no idea where I'm at.
Nothing makes a wheelbarrow.
About to say, nothing makes a wheelbarrow. I mean,
They built a pyramid, didn't they?
Yeah, but whatever we can do, we need it. I appreciate it.
we can't have these improved.
We'll get it taken care of.
Okay, before Clarence steps down, I got one question. I told, at the last meeting, I told everybody I was going to the Veterans Park where they were gonna try out the lights, and I completely forgot to do that. But I did call Tommy Allen and talk to him some, do you know?
Yeah, where we at, I brought it for the budget thing, and y'all gonna discuss it at the budget agenda amendment. We're gonna maybe adjust my budget to allow part, if not some of it. You're looking at $25,000 to $30,000 total to do what needs to be done. 30 in ground, 25 above ground, looking at vandalism and all that, so which route we want to go. The park is too good and too nice and been taken care of too long for us not to do something to bring it back up to standards.
So that amount of money would be just a one-time.
Well, and they say it probably lasts 10 to 12 to 14 years. Yeah, we had a demonstration, and I said, that's the price we got.
But we wouldn't have to furnish that money every year, is what I'm saying.
No, that's a one-time capital investment to replace all the lights. I think all players are saying is their lights are going to wear out at some point, so at some point you'd have to.
Hopefully they'll last. I think the original lights, were they metal?
Yeah, the original light is there with Session.
The housing.
They was told by some contractor to put, when they put the lights in now, to do something, I don't remember everything, and it was supposed to be waterproof. It was not waterproof, and that's why the majority of the underground is out now. 2003 to 2004, nobody knows exactly what year. It was started in 3, I think, and finished in 4, maybe, or 5.
12 years.
12 or 13
Yeah,
years.
yeah. I said, too nice a park not to keep it up likewise.
Absolutely.
And the veteran committee has done a great job getting it there. We just, I think, as a county, and can we afford to do all of it? Can the veteran board do some? I'm just on it as we maintain the park. Phil was on it, Tommy Allen on it. Will we have to have some fundraisers to help out? I have no idea. Now, I would know what Tommy Allen would like. Tommy Allen would like the board to foot the whole bill.
Well, it is county property, it is a county park.
Right.
And it's a will.
And I think, Joanne, we had 5,000 for veterans this year, or 2,500?
2,500.
2,500, so it would take an extra 2,500 to 28,000 budget adjustment to do it, if you do it this budget year.
I mean, basically, to cut it short of it, what we understand, we recognize it's just a 30,000. We don't have that in the budget. It's in this package right here that we're going to go over at some point to discuss, and it's just a budget request. As long as you all approve that budget request, we'll certainly get it done.
We only got one price so far. We would have to get more than one, I would think.
And staff is in no way saying it's not needed, we're simply just saying that it's a budget request, just like there's a whole bunch of them in here.
I'm just putting that out there.
That's tomorrow. No, yeah, I understand.
There were a few small things. You know if any of that got done? I think there were.
We got the drainage, the tile done, everything. We actually landscaped it and put some one around that. We have not taken the trees down because I think it's about $500,000, $800,000 per tree to get rid of them. We haven't done anything with trees yet, the dead trees in the park.
So how much to get rid of the trees?
500.
Basically, we have to pay for everything that goes, we don't have in our landfill anymore. You know, we have a transfer station. It is illegal for things to hit the ground and stay out there. They have to go in a dumpster and go away, and it's 11 cents a pound.
Yeah.
So it's 11 cents a pound times the weight of a tree.
Yeah. I think Miss Joanna thought it was $500, $800 per tree. Maybe she get rid
Just
of
to
it.
cut down the tree is usually somewhere between 500 to 800.
We can get it cut down. We just gotta have a place to dispose of it.
They're pine trees, aren't they?
Yeah.
No, I ain't saying you couldn't. I'm saying we go to jail.
And somebody said, well, just cut them down and put them anywhere. I said, easier said and done.
Take it as John Burns.
Yeah.
They good.
Well, in long term, that's another issue we got to deal with. We got to do something with these lack in our landfill that are around to take things too. Figure it out.
Is it a pretty tree?
Pine tree. I don't know.
They did. They did.
Oh, they did, I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. You anything else, Rick?
That's all I had.
I know we brought up their past, but is there any timeline of when we may find out anything on the boat landing grants that we applied for?
They've both been approved. I thought we talked about it a while back. They are.
And it may have been that meeting I wasn't here.
Yeah, they were both approved. Let me look, because Clarence just asked this question, so I just asked Wes again. They're approved, but we can't really do anything until July, I think it's August of this year when they're officially approved. Let me get the exact date for you.
They're approved, we can't get the money.
End of July. And basically what it is we're waiting on NOAA, the National Oceanic and whatever administration, atmospheric administration, they're actually got to the end of July, but yeah, so the end of July we'll move forward with those projects.
Can I address that? I think some of y'all got some phone calls from citizens about Steel Bridge. They did do some, public work did do some work last week, made it much, much better than it is. And once we get this grant and do the wall, then I think we'll be in great shape out there. But it's much better since Public Works did the work last Thursday and Friday.
Really don't have anything formal for y'all. You'll notice you don't have committee reports, but I got one thing, possibly two, of y'all. First, you may recall our joint meetings that we've been having with municipalities was scheduled for this past month, or yesterday rather. And you all were finishing up ACCG, so we've delayed that. We need to come up with another date for that meeting to occur. I think tomorrow obviously is not good for you all, and I believe it's Rinkin's meeting maybe tomorrow as well. So if there's some dates that you all might want to consider.
How about next Monday? I'm just saying.
I think somebody has
We might,
That's Rinkin's meeting.
Huh?
Rinkin's meeting is
Oh,
Monday.
okay. I'm just a wild guess.
It's hard to pick a date because it's Rinkin and I believe Springfield and Guyton have theirs on the same date. I believe that's Thursday. would you like for me to just kind of look at the calendar and see what dates are open and,
Yeah.
and let you know? Okay.
We can be there, we can be there.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I have is a question for y'all. We can do whatever y'all want. I think the meeting may have taken a few minutes longer than I anticipated it taking. You have, did I think Stephanie? Not yet. There's 2 documents that's going to come to y'all this for your meeting tomorrow, so you can go ahead and be looking at them. And if you all would like, and I'm going to defer to the attorney, I'm assuming this is more committee reports we can talk about in anticipation of the meeting tomorrow. If you would like to go over some of the current financials to maybe speed it up tomorrow a little bit tonight, as long as we can, if we're not violating anything, that's fine with the attorney, and you all want to, it's up to you. It's tonight, tomorrow, if you want to try to speed it up a little bit. If you just want to kind of walk through, basically what you're going to get is a 10-year history of department totals, both total departments and personnel. There's a current budget status, the preliminary totals from next year, the capital requests, and all the requests that came up for last year. And if you all want to kind of walk through that, at least get a background of where we stand, what's been asked for, we can do that. If not, we can wait till tomorrow. It's up to you all.
Give us an overview.
And we're looking at the one that says status and financial overview here. There should be 2 documents. That's the one we're talking about. We'll keep it brief.
Basically, we just want to go through this document with you so you can be reviewing it this evening and hopefully some tomorrow. We basically went back and did a 10-year overview from 2007 to current. And so the first 2 sheets that you see in there is a review by department of what the overall actual expenses have been. And what you'll notice is that in 2007, at the very bottom of that second page within the booklet itself, you'll see $27,123,961. And on the far right-hand side for fiscal year 2015, you'll see $27,117,835. That basically is the total dollars expended in comparison over those 10 years. The far right-hand column, you'll see the net difference, and you'll see the net difference for each department, and then the overall percentages of increase or decrease. We're calling your attention to this just to show you where we have come from in the last 10 years. If you turn that page basically also then is a total of the overall personnel expense. And we did the exact same thing. We went from 2007 through 2015. You'll see in the far right-hand column those differences in overall dollars. And we call your attention to that just so you can see where those dollars have increased and where they've decreased. And some of the background information that we're looking at as far as where we need to go from here. The following sheet is just a general fund overview of revenue to expense to millage. And in calling your attention to that particular item, you'll see that for 2017 requested, we had $29,660,000. Currently, staff is proposing $28,181,000, which would be an overall increase of the $677,000. If we did propose everything that was requested, it would be almost $1,479,000. The bottom side of that is showing your revenues as far as where your revenues are increasing and decreasing. Right now, we're projecting only about $271,000 increase in the overall revenue. That is due to what the digest currently is showing versus the collection that would be for the current year versus the collections of the prior year's revenue. At present, to actually fulfill this budget based off of the proposed that staff is proposing, we would be at the $28,181,000, or about a $677,000 increase. and we would need to use fund balance of $406,000.
There's one of that first, and I know you're trying to do it with overview right now, but
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not going to jump on overview, revenue, millage. What you're showing is that if staff had not attempted some reductions or adjustments as they were taking the request, that the additional budget would be almost 1.5 million higher, but you whittled it down to 677.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Or about a 2.4% increase.
I just want to be sure I understood that right.
Yes, ma'am. You're correct.
And the 2.46 increase lies in the area of a rollback.
Yes, it does. At this point. Let me rephrase that. With using fund balance of the 406,000.
Excuse me.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
want to be a buzzkill here, but I mean, the overview I think is fine. If we start discussing what we're going to discuss tomorrow.
No questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No problem, sir.
That makes sense to me, but, okay.
Then, and please be sure to call us with any questions. We'll be here tomorrow to answer any of those questions that you may have from reviewing it. That's what the intention was, to get this to you earlier. And so the next particular section in the pamphlet is just an overview from 2013 through our current proposed budget. Is the net change that's shown on there is the net change from our proposed this year to our approved last year. So you're looking at $27,503,000 versus a figure of $28,181,000, and that's in the department totals. Following suit, we basically take that same functionality as far as the review and do it the same exact thing within personnel. So you can see what the overall changes are to the budget by individual department and what the overall change in personnel by department is also. One of the things that we wanted to convey, and we tried to convey when we were in Atlanta, is the overall digest and what that digest shows and what that rollback rate does. And so within these documents, we also put the millage calculation, or the PT32 form, and we calculated that out for you, showing exactly what our current millage is and what that rollback rate does. And so if you pay attention to what those figures are, what you will see is that with the current rollback rolls back $317,283, which if you look at the column that is showing reassessment existing real property, you will see that is exactly the same amount, 307, or close there too, $317,735.52. But we wanted to show you that so that you could actually see how that rollback works. The next page is the Effingham County preliminary review of the digest. In this, we put the 5-year history within there, and we call your attention to the decrease in the overall digest from 2010 through 2011, continuing on into 2012 and into 2013. And what you will see is that we then calculated what that net increase or decrease was, and then what each one of those years' digest did or did not add back to that overall decrease. And so in the far right-hand column, you'll see the preliminary as of 5/22 for 2016. You will see that our overall digest M&O is at $1,643,953. You will see that the rollback rate that is calculated at 8.144 versus the current net M&O millage of 8.337. So we've left the overall digest rate at 8.337. We would actually receive $761,000 potentially in new revenue within the current year. But if we use the rollback rate, which is the 8.144, we would actually see more like $444,000. Now, call your attention back to the overall review that we did which was the general fund overview, review of expense and millage, we only showed about $271,000 in new revenue. That is because we have been collecting on prior years based off of the tax sales that Linda McDaniel has been doing. We don't anticipate receiving as much revenue from those other years because that has dwindled down. So we're only showing a net of about $271,000 within the current revenue. The last and the final sheet that is in here is an overview of the actual capital that has been requested. You'll see a original request, and then you will see the first budget draft as far as admin recommended. The column that shows admin recommended, we also put some comments out to the side as to whether or not those were current and ongoing capital items, and whether or not those reductions were agreed to, whether or not we considered using SPOS funds for some of those capital items. And then the very last sheet, sorry. The very last sheet. And then in some instances, we are reviewing where we currently stand within our budget. And if those items are items we believe as staff are necessary and need to be done, we're looking at where we currently stand to see if we can do it within the current year. For instance, several of the items, such as some of the items for senior citizens, we believe we can do within the current year's budget. And we're looking at the things like potentially the lights at Veterans Park. So those are some of the pieces and overviews that we wanted y'all to see. Up front, there are some determinations that need to be made. Right now, we don't see that we necessarily would be able to balance this budget, that we would need to use about $406,000 of fund balance to be able to balance the budget. And so we wanted y'all to have first reviews before we actually got into the meetings with individual departments, where we know what your thoughts are and what your direction is as far as accommodating all the requests.
So we'll get more details of what these numbers are
Yes, sir.
tomorrow.
We just wanted you to become familiar with them and to kind of give you an overview so that you understood where we were revenue-wise, where we were digest-wise, what the current requests are, and how staff's trying to meet those so that you're more familiar with it when we get into it tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll dive into all requests. Again, it's going to be a compressed meeting again. I think we're going to run out of time. We just wanted to prime y'all so if we don't have to do that tomorrow and give you the background, and we can certainly, go into more detail on that.
Or answer any questions that you may have individually or by reviewing some of them.
Consider us primed.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other staff? Anybody else? I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All in favor? Aye. Objected, we're going home.